Hey everyone, this is Mike. I'm the Frostline gardener and I garden in Zone 4B. They've put us in Zone 5A, but I don't believe it. So if you look behind me, I live in the shadow of a mountain. These are the Bridgers here in Montana. And it can be a little bit extreme kind of growing here. This is probably one of the easiest seasons that we've had for winter, but generally our temperatures get down to -15, -20 Fahrenheit. And in some rare cases, it can get down to like -48, -50. We haven't really seen those in quite some time, but it could happen at any time. Just take a look at the East Coast this year. So I wanted to take you on a late February garden stroll and just kind of show you what I have in store for this year. I garden on a shared acre with my family. We have a cozy little situation here where we actually were able to build a house on the family estate property. And so that's what you can kind of see in the background there. We've been working on getting this, we converted it from a shop and just kept adding pieces to it to create this really cool house. The garden itself is definitely more of a perennial garden in this space, but I am starting to build out some more garden rooms that will incorporate more trees, more shrubs. I'm really looking to introduce the wildlife back into this area. We sit at the top of a valley, and so we tend to be a little bit on the drier side. So a lot of the cottonwoods and things that you would typically see in stream banks and all that, well, we don't really have. There's not much in terms of native tree cover. And it looks pretty brown and pretty uninteresting right now, but this is going to be a wild perennial garden done in the style of Roy Diblick and Pete Udoff. They're a few of my gardening inspirations for sure. Out here, we have so much land and so much space that maintenance becomes a huge issue. So I really like the no maintenance, KNOW maintenance plan that has kind of evolved with the new perennial style. So it might be kind of hard to see, but things are planted fairly close together, and they're planted in big, massive drifts so that when things do start to emerge, it's very clear what is supposed to be there. And ideally, these all grow in together and kind of support each other. The garden was started in 2018 and it was always on a flat plane. There is very little terrain difference. So when I decided to finally reset the perennial garden, I wanted to make sure that it was in a hole. Like I wanted a destination to go to with this giant crusher cone fire pit here that will eventually be a really nice sort of patio with the crusher fines around it and some chairs and stuff like that. If we get up and walk around, you can see that everything is just flat. So creating a sense of enclosure was super important. And since perennials here, we have a lot of high winds, we're pretty dry, our perennials don't get super tall. Like we're not gonna have tall delphiniums or foxgloves or anything like that. A lot of our stuff is gonna top out at 4 feet or so. So the best way that I thought to do it was to simply drop the center of the garden and plant on a slope. That is a great idea in theory, and I love the way it came out. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it made for some issues. And also, if we have any sort of significant rain, or if I have to do any sort of significant irrigation in here, which does happen, the bottom does flood. So perhaps wasn't my best idea, but we will fix it and we'll get it working. As we get over closer to the house, you can kind of see that my hope is, again, that I'm creating these sort of garden rooms and that things start to enclose a little bit. So these beautiful trees right here are lodgepole pines. Not a typical species that works out here, but you give it enough water, and I've got really, really, really rocky soil. So water penetration is not really an issue, and the trees tend to like it like that as long as I give it water. But this is supposed to be more of you're gonna have to kind of go with me here a little bit, because right now it doesn't look like much of anything, but I wanted this to be more of a woodland sort of transition into the backyard. And so I wanted these like rock outcroppings. I planned to plant some mosses in there, not mosses, Irish mosses, Sagina subulata. Because real mosses, this is way too dry for them. But I can probably do some Irish mosses or some Scotch mosses in here. And this is really supposed to create that transition point into different rooms, different parts of the garden. As we get into the backyard, you can see a really cool piece I was able to pick up in Three Forks, Montana. They were just giving this juniper, this giant petrified juniper away because the new owners didn't want their kids like getting hurt on it or anything. So it was first come, first serve. It was free. So I rushed my ass down to Three Forks, which is about 45 minutes away, with a trailer and picked it up. And it has acted as the centerpiece, the art piece of this backyard. I really like gnarly, tangled stuff. I like working with rebar. I like the contrast of harsh materials and live material. So I couldn't help myself. And luckily it is here. It is beautiful. I will eventually get some spotlights on it. As you come into the backspace, you're framed with this gorgeous view of Ross Peak. And this is the view that I want to continue to frame. You can kind of see the spruces in the back are doing that very well. I've got a few aspens on either side. Of course, they do sucker, but they'll create a really beautiful frame as you're kind of walking through into this backyard. Because this was a shop area, this was an incredibly weedy space for a long time. So I've got some very, very perennial weeds. And so I've been, with the low snow that we've had this year and the ground is still pretty wet, I've been able to dig out this incredibly strong perennial weed. This is a Malva neglecta, I believe, cheeseweed. And it's true with any garden that you have to have vision in order to see what you're going to do next. But this garden definitely requires vision. You can kind of see posts and flags. The flags are lining out the lawn area. I want to go with a drought-tolerant lawn back here because, again, we live in Montana. But I figure at some point we'll have a dog and we'll need to have kind of a nice little lawn area. And then the sticks and flags are all different shrubs that are going to go in there. I've got some perennials in there from last year. I mean, basically last year was let's get it in there, let's get it surviving, let's get it thriving. And then we're working on mulching right now. I mean, it is a work in progress. And then the last space, this used to be an orchard until we realized the soil's not good for apple trees. But I still try. So this is a nice little cur crab apple right here that was bare root last year, is putting on some decent growth. All of it feels good. We didn't have a rough winter, so a lot of our trees should stay alive. I've been watering them as well in the winter, even though they're dormant. I want to make sure those roots are kind of kept. We have it fully enclosed because it used to be an orchard, so that infrastructure is already there. And I want to turn it into a really beautiful long border with mixed evergreens, shrubs, some really tough perennials. Again, my goal is to improve the pollinator habitat, to get the birds back out here, and to create just a healthy ecosystem. As small as it is, we just have big spaces of nothing. And so as you're walking down this path, I want to kind of weave it back and forth. I want this to be very different from the perennial garden. Perennial garden is definitely going to take a little bit more time in the early season to clean up all the dead stems and all that. And this, I definitely wanted to focus on shrubs and trees and create a bit of a forested effect between me and my neighbor. They have some beautiful Scotch pine and ponderosa pine already. So they're already doing the duty of, attracting birds. And so I want to make sure that those birds have food. They've got forage, they've got, insects. I want to bring this area back to life a little bit. And even though it was crap soil for an orchard and we didn't know how to water it, it's good soil. I can't really complain, even though every time I dig a hole, I will pull out 5 rocks. I don't deal with flooding. I don't deal with rotting. I don't deal with very much of anything in that regard. It is a fairly hands-off soil. The big thing that I'm doing is just covering it and making sure that the plants are getting enough water, because the rains will not do it. We get maybe 14 inches of rain a year, and that is, that's on a good year. So as long as I have a drip irrigation system to these trees, I won't have issues. So till the well runs dry, we should be good. So like I said, you kind of have to trust me on this, that there is a really strong vision here for some incredibly cool things out in this garden. It is just, we are in early days, and I wanted to start this so that I've got a bit of record of, and I wanted to start this channel so that, oh, did I want to start this channel? I wanted to start keeping a video record of the major steps every year. Now that we're pretty clear on how it is to have a garden and how to grow here, it's time to put that to use and to really start transforming this property into something that is really special and kind of unique. A lot of garden YouTube channels are in much more favorable conditions, and that's not necessarily a dig on them by any means, but Montana is definitely a bit of a wildland. It is definitely, it is Western. Like, it is, I love where I live, but it is a challenge to grow anything that has some longevity and some space. Like, you'll pick plants that look great on paper, that your nursery says, oh yeah, no, they grow great. And then you will have a season where things just die. And you have to be okay with the fact that nothing is permanent out here. That's what kind of makes it fun. Like, truthfully, if I had the chance and I could garden in an Oregon or a Northern California, or, yeah, I'd probably take it. But I'm here, and there are definitely benefits to growing in a harsh climate. The season is shorter, but the color, I mean, you're going to see this year, the color is spectacular. The color is intense. The succession of blooms, I don't have to deadhead. So I choose perennials that fade very gracefully. And for the most part, there's nothing that flops. Like, it's a rough environment, but it is, when the season really gets going, it is spectacular. But that's all for the future. Right now, there are some tasks that we can do, and I actually have one kind of over here, converting my garden from a perennial or a mixed garden. Because I worked at a nursery, I had a lot of access to different plants and different flowers and different cultivars. When I decided to redo this garden completely, I got rid of all the shrubs, and I didn't get rid of them, I moved them to new locations as we just kind of walked out of. But because they were in a mixed setting, I do have some issues to take care of right now. And since things are dormant, we can do that. So I took these out from a different part of the garden. Here, let me switch you around. These are Amber Jubilee 9barks. And they're fantastic. I really, really like them. They have survived my terrible care over the past 5 years, and I finally put them into a spot that it will look good once I am able to actually get them pruned up correctly and all that. But if you see here, I have an issue that I didn't correct at the time because I was just trying to get them in the ground. See if I can get close to you there. Yeah, I've got pigweed in the center, and I also have grass. So I feel like the best course of action, it's dormant, it's a nice day. I think I'm just gonna have to dig these up. I don't really want to dig these up, but I feel like I have no choice. I have to dig these up. I have to clean them out because they're in a spot where there is no grass and there is no there's just mulch. So it's going to look really weird if I continuously have weeds and crap coming out of them. So I'm not looking forward to this. Apologize for my heavy breathing. That was harder than I kind of expected. Let me show you what we're working with here. So, as you can see, she's got great roots, which is really, really promising because the tops are pretty dry. So I have a feeling that this thing's going to reset back from the base again this year if there's not anything that's kind of alive in here. But yeah, you can kind of see the issue that there's just a lot of rhizome grasses in here and they have to be removed, which might mean that the entire top does get cut down so that I can easily get to it. But I really want to get to getting rid of this pigweed in here, because that's the issue right there. Ugh. Carefully trying to remove this out. I don't want to break roots. It doesn't do me any good to have broken roots in there. I want to pull as much of this out carefully as possible. Oh yeah. This. This is why I couldn't just leave it. Look at the size of this root. This is a member of the amaranth family. And it's been coexisting with this 9bark for quite a bit. Yeah, that's why I had to dig it up. This is why you don't let your shrubs intermingle with grasses. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that took way longer than I was expecting. And it's starting to get windy. It's supposed to be a little windy today, and this is not a fun job to do in the wind. So we'll look at the root system, we'll look at the top, we'll make our cuts, and then we'll get this in the ground, and I'll probably do the second one off screen because this is not that interesting. So you can see here, I've cleared out all of the soil around the base of this thing, and the grass roots were pretty much well wrapped around them. And I'm pretty sure there's still going to be some things that pop up, but I can take care of those with a little bit of non-selective herbicide. I don't really like to use herbicide around plants, but in this instance, I can't let that rhizomatous grass get back in there. So while I have all this opened up, I might as well clear out some of the problem roots. The mycorrhizal colonies that were in here have definitely been disturbed. That's kind of the... Here's the deal. It's risk versus reward. So this thing, because it was infested, was likely going to be ripped out and replaced if I couldn't fix it. But this thing has lived with me for many years. One of the first things I put in the garden, and it continues to survive even with my terrible care when I was a younger gardener. So I feel like it's in my duty to make this work and to make this a beautiful long-lived shrub. So I owe it to the plant. The plant did nothing wrong. I sited it incorrectly and I neglected it, and it continued to be a good plant regardless of my care. So we're going to fix it. So on the top structure, kind of treat it like a rose. I'm looking for a nice vase shape, so I might take some of the center pieces out so that these other branches have a better chance at bulking up. And sometimes it's just good to restart, especially on 9bark. They need a good refreshing every once in a while. This is not a precious shrub by any means. There she is. That is Amber Jubilee, cleaned up and ready to go. here's something to show you. So even though this plant was only in there for about 1 year, and this soil is pretty crappy when we put it in, you can see that the soil is way better than it was, like way better. And the reason being is that plants are really good at storing carbon and things around the roots and making relationships with different soil organisms. And I did keep it pretty well watered, so it never really dried out or anything like that. But it's something called exudates. It's what comes out of the root system and is stored around the base of the plant. So the best way to get good soil, just keep growing stuff. There it is, back at its place, pretty well watered in. I will water it multiple times because I'm pretty sure the soil is going to collapse around the roots a little bit. Quite a big root system in there. You can see the before and you can see the after. So I am going to lose a little bit of height, but I'm pretty sure those top stems are dead anyway. But I think that'll do it for today. I hope you follow me on my journey here. There's going to be a lot that happens this year. And I really look forward to developing community here on YouTube. And if you liked what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe, do all the things. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.